Well, this video was highly requested from my last one. And the topic of this video is discerning your voice, your thoughts from the Spirit, knowing if it's an answer or if it's just something that you are coming up with on your own. Many years ago, I heard the phrase, "We are all just walking each other home." I was a little kid when I heard this. And I remember at that time thinking, or like having this knowing that that would in some way be a mantra on my life. That, I had never been through hard things. I really didn't even know what that meant, but I felt like there was something to that phrase. But I believe as each of us go through life, and we go through trials, we go through hardships, and we overcome things, it's our duty in a way to turn around and help the people on the path, the same path that we were just on, or that we are still on, because we never really get off those paths, even if you're just a few steps ahead. And a perfect example of this would be the night that I lost my son. I was in the hospital, and these two women approached me right after they shared the news, like that they couldn't revive him. I don't remember how long ago that they had lost their kids, but they lost them in the same exact way that I had lost my son. And I remember feeling a lot of comfort from them, because honestly, without them even saying anything, it was just like sitting with me and, offered words of encouragement. It was so nice to sit with someone that was on the same road as you. But I could tell they were miles ahead. Dang, I didn't want to get emotional already. But there's something to that, turning around and helping the people that are on the road that you are on. And the reason I bring this up is because that's really why I'm making this video. For a long, long time, I could not discern my own thoughts from the Spirit. I had no idea. I feel like I was making all the mistakes because I'm like, is that my own thought? Is that my own idea? And I would just go with it, even if I felt uneasy about it. I really couldn't discern, and I think that was a big problem for me. And it has been for a long period of time in my life. So I would say after this year, I have really come to know the difference. And there is a difference, and that is something that I'm happy to share with you guys. I think that if you can be a voice of reasoning or influence for good for those who are struggling with maybe things that you have in the past, I think that you should. I think it's important for us to be that voice. So over this past year, I would say I have become very acquainted with that voice. And now it's very easy for me to discern my voice from the Spirit. I am hoping that whatever I share with you guys today, I am hoping and praying that this will be beneficial to some of you. I will also say there have been many times in my life where I'm very stubborn, believe it or not. And for a long time felt like I got this. I don't need your inspiration. I don't need influence. Like, I want to make my own decisions, and I don't really care what the consequences are. Like, that's really how I have felt for many years in my life. I think it's landed me in places maybe that I would have never been, or maybe never should have been. I think no matter what, there were lessons probably to be learned through all of it. And so any lesson is for your good, because you're going to come out better and stronger. And even if it doesn't make sense right now, it will eventually. And that is something else I've definitely learned. I learn better through analogies, so I will be sharing a lot of them as well as personal examples throughout this video. But I want you guys to picture this. So imagine yourself, let's say you are 5 years old, you're at the grocery store with a loved one. Let's say it's a mom or a dad or a grandparent, somebody that you are really, really close with. So you're at the store with them, and you wander off down an aisle, maybe the toy section at the store. I always did that with my dad. And there's a bunch of kids, there's a bunch of families, lots of adults, lots of conversations going. And suddenly you hear, "Hey, it's time to go." And you look up, and it's your dad or whoever, your grandparent, mom, whatever. Why did you look up? Because before, you probably heard a lot of conversations, a lot of other parents yelling, "Hey, it's time to go." But you were laser focused on whatever you were looking at. This time, you looked up And it's because the voice was familiar to you. And so I think the first problem with hearing or discerning is we're not familiar with the voice. The truth is, the more you know God, the more clearly you can hear his voice. And so if there's something that, I don't know, if you have turned away, just maybe use this moment to look within, look at your life. What could you be doing to hear him better? Because that is the first step to being able to hear clearly and discern, is you got to know what that voice is. You need to recognize it. I also believe God gives us that intuition, that inner knowing, the gut feeling. My gut is never wrong. Every time my gut is telling me something, no matter what somebody says, I know to trust my gut. And I would say I've learned that the hard way. But when your gut is telling you something is off, something is off. I will also say though, fear is not from the Spirit. If you are feeling fearful, it is not coming from him. You can have warnings, but you should also feel peace about that warning. And I do have an example of this. My birthday, 2019, so it was December 18th of 2019, I was having a party at my house. Lots of kids. I had all my friends there and all of our kids were there. And I looked down at my phone and I had a bunch of missed calls from my mom. And a text that said, call me. And I knew my dad was in the hospital. But when I read that text, call me, these words entered my mind. Your dad's not gonna make it. There wasn't a fearful, terrifying feeling. I felt peace about it, but it was a warning. That to me would be a perfect example of a warning feeling that brings peace. Because if we're being honest here, death is the most scary thing, right? The thing that we are all the most afraid of. Yet in that moment, I did have that feeling. I had that warning, but it brought peace. And sure enough, that was the news that I got. But I feel like because I was warned about it, I had a few moments to gather myself, knowing the news I was about to get. It helped me receive the message a lot better. And my dad passed away a few weeks later after getting that news. Now, speaking of a voice, because that was actually something that when I had that warning, it was definitely a voice. And this is one I want to dig into more, because this is something that I think where we get confused in our head. We might hear a word or hear a phrase and think, is that myself? Am I coming up with that on my own? Or is that the Spirit giving me an answer? So this is what I really wanted to cover today. In my experience, anytime I hear a voice, it's not an audible voice, but I hear words in my mind. It's always direct. It's always giving instruction. And there is a power or authority behind it. Oftentimes, when I'm asking a question, I get the answer before I'm even done asking. I do have a couple examples of this. When I was 18, I was living with my soon-to-be sister-in-law. I was renting a bedroom in her house, and I could not find my car keys anywhere. I was so frustrated, and when you're late for work, you're just heated up. I was so mad searching. I think I spent 2 hours looking for my keys. I could not find them anywhere. And finally I gave up and was like, you know what? I haven't prayed about it. I know they're here. They have to be here. I'm not looking in the right place. So I calmed myself down and I prayed and I said, where are my keys? Before I even finished the word keys, I heard, in your robe. And I was like, oh my goodness. I remember putting them in my robe hanging on the back of my door. And I got up and I walked straight to my robe and they were in my robe. So that is an example. I got the answer before I was even finished asking the question. And that happens a lot. But again, it was very direct, in your robe. Okay. Another example of this was when I was praying about moving, if I should stay in my home or if I should go. And I was praying and I said, do I stay or do, and before I finished that phrase, I heard loud and clear, go. I hadn't even finished my question. And it was so that word, I almost would say it was almost audible. That is how powerful it came to me. I knew I needed to leave. One more example I want to share on this one is I was going through a really, really hard time and I was desperate. I remember feeling really desperate for an answer to this prayer. I needed to know what next steps I needed to take, what I needed to do. And I was desperate. I remember just like crying out, just asking, what am I supposed to do? And the words that came to me were, clean your room. And I remember opening my eyes like, why did I just hear clean your room? Like that has nothing to do with what I just asked. And I felt a little bit confused, like that was weird. Like that was definitely not me. That did not come from me. That was not my own thought. That was not my voice. So because of that, I got up and started cleaning. And as I was cleaning my room, I was flooded with inspiration. I got out a notebook and started writing things down of things that I should do. I should do this next and this next. And it was just like coming to me overflowing all of this information. And I think there's two parts to that. I think part of it is I needed to trust that answer. It didn't make sense at the time, but I followed through. Okay, I'm supposed to clean my room. I guess I'll start cleaning my room. And once I did that, all of this knowledge came to me. Again, there's two parts to this. The other part is I think that our outer world is a direct reflection of what's going on inside. And so if you're living in chaos in your outer world, your inner world is too. And it's very hard to discern or to hear when things are chaotic. And so I think me getting up and cleaning my room that night, my room was spotless. And I remember sitting in bed just feeling so grateful, like I feel so much better. My area is clean. I feel mentally so much better. And I had all of this inspiration written down of what I needed to be doing at that time in my life. So just trust, even if it seems weird, if you're getting an answer and it seems like a weird thing to do, trust it. Now here's the problem. A lot of times these answers or this voice can be interfered by our emotions, by the mood we're in that day. So there is a method or an exact process that I do to make sure that I'm open to hearing correctly, because I don't want my emotions or my ideas or my thoughts to be interfering with this in any way. So not coincidentally, I am going through some things right now. And yesterday, as I was writing notes out for this, I didn't have my kids yesterday. So I spent 5 or 6 hours writing notes down, anything that was coming to me that I wanted or felt like I should share with you guys. But also, I'm dealing with some personal things. And as I was praying, my friend popped in my mind and I thought I really could use some advice from her. And I feel my phone vibrating and I look down, I open one eye, and my friend was calling me. And I just started to cry. I answered my phone and I was like, Bobby, why are you calling me right now? And she said, I don't know, but it was involuntary. I felt like I have no idea why I'm calling you, but what's going on? And we talked for an hour, 59 minutes. And the things we talked about, her advice to me, it was so good. I was just writing notes down, taking notes from her. It was exactly what I needed yesterday. I don't think it's a coincidence that I'm going through stuff in my life right now where I am actively using this exact method that I'm about to share with you. So how you're going to clear your head and receive these answers that you need. When I have a decision I need to make, I don't want any outside noise or distraction to get in the way. So I need a clear mind. There might be things that you do to get a clear mind. Going for a walk outside is one of the best ways to do that. So you could be going on a walk. What I like to do though is I will journal. I will get my journal out and I will write down all of the things about this question that I have. The pros, the cons, all of the problems or issues that you're having with it, any concerns that you have about this question, write it all down. And sometimes during this process, I will feel like I get an answer and I will just continue writing out the sentence. For example, let's say that I was writing, I don't know if I should move or if I should stay here, but I really think it's best for me to leave. Like that might be the way that the answer comes in. And if you feel peace after that, that's your answer. Sometimes that will happen, but other times, I will just dump all my thoughts out right there so that I can feel peaceful. And then the next step, what I do is I love to put on meditation music. In fact, I like to do it while I'm journaling too. I will have that playing and I will just sit, and relax. And another really important thing is to make sure that your nervous system is relaxed, because if you are, let me actually just say this. You never want to make decisions in the heat of a moment. You never want to make decisions when you are angry or extremely upset. You don't want to be doing that in those moments. You always regret. You will always regret making decisions like that when you are in any emotional state. So what I like to do is make sure that I just feel relaxed. I'm not leaning one way or the other. I'm just kind of centered and I'm ready to receive whatever answer I'm supposed to receive. So the next thing I will do is I will ask my question. What am I supposed to do? Especially when you're first starting to, be familiar with this voice. I would ask yes or no questions, but they always were direct. I could see the word yes and hear the word yes, or no. Now here's the other thing, because sometimes you might be thinking, okay, I prayed and I really felt the answer was yes, but that was the answer I was hoping for. So was it me? Was that my own thought, or was that from the Spirit? And when this happens, I think the next thing you should do is ask for a sign. Was that from you? And you can be specific about the sign that you want to receive. Lord, if that was from you, I want to see this. And He will show it to you every time. And again, I have an example of this. So a couple years ago, I actually shared this story on Instagram, so maybe some of you guys remember. I was talking to a friend about my son, wondering if he was around. Is he actually a part of my life on a daily basis, or just, influencing me in any way, or just next to me or around me? Can he actually show me a sign? And my friend said, what is it that reminds you of him? And I said, orange butterflies. Orange reminds me of him. But anytime I would see an orange butterfly right after he had passed, I just would feel close to him. So I kind of tied orange butterflies to him. So that's what I told her. And she said, you will see an orange butterfly today then. Now, mind you, it was January. I live in Utah, so there are no orange butterflies out and about in the dead of winter in Utah. And I remember thinking, what are you talking about? I am not going to see an orange butterfly today. So I'm very doubtful. And she said, trust me, you will. You will see one. If that is the sign you need to see for Him to prove that He's around you, He will show you one today. And so I'm like, whatever. I'm driving home, and you know how you always take the same route home? We all do it, right? I'm driving home. I'm almost to the road that I turned to get onto my street, and I hear this voice tell me to turn right. Turn right. And so I did. I turned right down this road, and I remember thinking oh, this is kind of nice, have a little bit of change of scenery on my way home. And I looked to my right, and there is this house. And I'm not kidding you. Above the garage, there's this giant orange butterfly mounted above their garage. I remember throwing my car in park and bawling, because I'm I was obviously expecting to see a real alive butterfly, but that to me was holy cow, whoa. Signs are everywhere. If you are asking for them, if you are looking for them, if you are desperate for them, I promise you they will appear. Okay, now sometimes when I am doing this, I have my clear mind and I'm asking, sometimes I will draw a complete blank. It's I'm knocking on a door and nobody's answering. There is nothing, I'm getting nothing. And when that happens, the answer to me has always been wait. Don't take any action on this step. And last week, this actually happened to me where I was feeling very uneasy about something, and I felt Like I needed to make a decision right now. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I was drawing a blank. I felt no way, this or that. I couldn't see anything. It was just literally blank. And 4 hours later, it was completely resolved. And it was a misunderstanding on my part. So again, it was just confirmation to me. I needed trust. When I feel nothing, wait. If I feel yes and there's a peaceful feeling after, that's the answer. If I feel yes and I'm unsure and then I get a sign, that's the answer. That is your answer. If you feel the answer is no, and that's not the answer you were hoping for, you have to trust that something better is on its way to you. Ultimately, if you feel peace, that's the right answer. As I was writing notes down, I actually wrote this out. It came to me and I wrote, peace is a gift and there's only one giver. I don't know where that came from. I have no idea. That is true. Confusion is not from the spirit. Fear is not from the spirit. If you're acting on fear, acting in confusion, that is not from the spirit, and that is not the right answer. And again, when you feel a blank, you're getting nothing, wait. Just wait and trust. And that's the hardest place to be, the trusting and waiting for the answer. I think that is, I would rather have a yes or a no. Even if I don't want to know, even if I don't want the answer to be no, I would rather get a no than wait. I have a really hard time with that. And unfortunately, that happens a lot. I do have to wait. I do have to be patient and just trust. But in the meantime, I like to work on myself, whatever I can be doing to better myself mentally, spiritually, physically. That's always, I don't know why I just shared that, but maybe that message was for you. That in the season of waiting, just focus on bettering yourself. And yeah, ultimately just trust. Stop worrying. Stop worrying. Our day-to-day decisions are for us to make. We're gonna make a million mistakes along this journey. And most of the time, there will be a reason for it. I know I have made a bajillion mistakes, a lot of things I'm not proud of. But if you can learn from that, if you can become better from that, then I think that it was a lesson worthwhile. I hope some of these tips were helpful to you guys today. This is so out of my element and I don't feel qualified to be talking on this topic. I hope that as you're making big decisions in life that you can take some of this with you and get familiar with that voice and trust yourself, trust the spirit, know that you are making the right decision.